Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. I'm so excited to have you guys back on this channel. Thank you so much, for sticking with me on this channel. I really appreciate you guys. Please, if you know you've been watching my video, if you know you've been on this channel, please do well to subscribe. I got a lot of questions on the same topic, how much I spent to move to Germany and like the breakdown. So some of you all have been asking me the same question, and I'm like, okay, why not make a video talking about how much I spent to move to Germany and like the breakdown of everything I did, like the whole process, the old documents, everything I did, the amount I spent on all this, right? And give it a sum so you guys could have like a clue or like what to expect. But please, I'm not telling you guys to scare you guys. Because of those that asked about how much I spend, that's the reason why I'm making this video. It's not something that's deep, right? It's just like, for example, like if you calculate how much you spend from January to December, if you check the total amount of how much you spend from January to December, you realize that that's a whole lot of money you've spent for the year. So when you see the old total sum, you'll be like, oh, that's a lot of money. But when you're going through the process, you're not spending all that money at once, but bit by bit, and when you sum everything up, you realize that that's a whole lot of money that you've spent. Okay, so guys, I thought about telling you guys everything I did and the sum of money I spent for each of those things I did so I could move to Germany. Okay, so guys, stay to the end of this video, and yeah. Before I dive into how much I spent moving to Germany, I'll give you a short story of how I go about starting this journey to move to Germany. So at the time, that was in 2022, I was still in the university in my final year, to be precise. And at that point, I was like thinking, oh, very soon I'm going to be graduating, and what next? Obviously, the next thing is to find a job, go for NYC, find a job, and all that stuff as usual, which is normal in Nigeria or anywhere. So then, yeah, I got a call from my auntie, one time telling me about Germany, because she resides in Germany. Yeah, she told me about Germany and the opportunities in Germany. Actually, I have never ever thought of Germany as a country to migrate to. Even if I was going to migrate to any country, like the country I had in mind were Canada or America, okay, or even the UK, because UK at that time it was quite easy to migrate to. Just have your your ego, just have your money, and yeah, it was quite easier to migrate to. So I've never thought about Germany. And when she told me that, she told me about the opportunities are in Germany, and and I'm like, okay, that actually sounds great. And she told me about the Fliege Ausbildung, which is a nursing training, vocational training. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I'd like to take the opportunity, because actually they are looking for a lot of nurses and everything, and they're ready to train you, to make you a registered nurse. And I'm like, okay, what better option than to take this option, right? Because Nigeria is, you all know. And then she told me that I need to study, I need to learn German, I need to have my German language. Oh, and there we go. And I'm like, okay, language, German language, that's a new language, another man's language, German. Oh my god, I'm like, okay. So at that point, I was just like, okay, taking all the information, hook, line, and sinker. And I'm like, I'll think about it. That was when I started, accepting that yes, I want to do this. But at that point, I didn't know where to start from. I don't even know where to go, like how to go about it. But at that point, I was just like, let me just finish what I came here to do, which is my school, because I'm almost done. I was my final year. I'm like, okay, let me finish what I came here for. Then I can think deep of what next I want to do, or like how I'm going to start the process of migration to Germany. So I was done with my university, and then, I went for NYSC, and I'm like, now I'm in my NYC. I don't have much time, right? When will I start learning? When will I start learning? So I had to like, you know what? I'm going to start this German thing in my NYC because I don't have time. Because I don't want to finish my NYC and I'll not be looking for a job everywhere and be struggling and everything and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I have to start now. I'm done with school, which I said I want to finish. And now I have started my NYC. And I felt like that's an opportunity for me to start my German classes, right? Since like I'm not so engaged, I could find time to start learning German. Okay, so I started the journey of learning. So that was how we got into the whole process. And look right now, I'm in Germany. Okay, so it all started in 2023. I got into NYC in 2023 January, and I started fully to learn German in August 2023. I could still remember so much; it's still fresh up here. So it was a whole lot. It was not easy learning German in NYC. Like learning German while doing NYC, it was really not easy. It was really not easy. It was so stressful, and you know, trying to combine the both of them together was a whole lot for me. But what about me? I'm a very determined person. I might not know how to go about it. I might not know where to start from, but I would just try. I might not know what the results will end up being, if I could even do it. I just need to try, just give it a try first before you can conclude if actually it's something you can do or not. Okay. First of all, before I started the German, I got my international passport and I spent like about 50K to get my international passport. Yeah, I registered into a German class. So lest I forget, that was in Osun State. Yeah, where I did my NYC. I was posted to Osun State to do my NYC. I went to find a language school in Osun State. I was living close to Obafemi Awolowo University, so I was able to find a language school in Obafemi Awolowo University, right? So like around the marketplace, there's say like tutorial center where they teach, German language and some other languages, like French, Portuguese, and yeah, all that stuff. I don't know if I pronounced it well, but pardon me. So yeah, I started the journey of learning German. I started with A1. Yeah, I started with A1 to B2. For A1, I spent 45K because Ocean State was quite relatively affordable, right? At that point in 2024, it was quite affordable in a language school. But right now, according to what I heard, it's not the same price anymore because of the economy. So I spent 45K for my A1. I spent 45K for my A2. I spent 45K for my B1. I spent 45K for my B2. The total amount of everything I spent learning German, like the fee for the German, was 180,000. That was how much I spent, 180K for my A1 to B2 German classes. Not only was I going for a physical class, I was also doing personal study because you can't just rely on only physical class and not do your own personal learning or studying for you to get better as fast as you want. So, I had to like do my own personal study, which I had to like go on YouTube, check for the whole, German language and everything I can, learn from. And yeah, for data to doing that, I spent, let's say, approximately for data and transportation to go into classes. I spent like 50K every month for data and transportation to go into classes. Let's just say approximately that. So after I was done learning my German and I started preparing to write my exam. So I learned my German. Like I said, everything I did was from 2023 stroke 2024, right? So I learned German for like a year. Let's just say a year. I started in August 2023 and ended in July 2024. So it was in July I wrote my exam, my GOTE exam. And yeah, I had to prepare so hard for it, like so hard for it. I had so much fear of the exam because, at that point, I wasn't really sure of myself, but yeah, I was always ready to give it a try. And yeah, I spent for the exam I spent 104,000 for all the modules because each modules has their own particular prices, because you can actually write your exam with whichever module you're ready for. You can choose to write the Oren alone, you can choose to write the Lesen alone, you can choose to write the Schreiben alone, you can choose to write the Sprechen alone, you can choose to write two at once, like together, or you can choose to write three, or you can choose to write the whole four. So each modules were in 2024, um as of July 2024, it was about 26,000 naira. Yeah, each modules. Yeah. 26,000 naira for each module. Everything I spent together for the four modules were about 104,000 naira. After I paid for my exam fee, and that was at the island, which is Victoria Island, Ikoyi. So that was where the Gote Institute was, and I think is still now. Yeah, I did my exam there, and obviously, where will I stay? Because I actually had nobody like staying in the island, in Victoria Island, as of that time, right? I had only family in the mainland. So I was like, I need to stay in a place that is close to the Goethe Institute, because I don't want to like stress myself. I don't want to struggle to look for where to stay and everything. So yeah, I lodged in an hotel that was close to the Goethe Institute. And as of that time, I spent like about 30,000 naira for a night to sleep over to the next day. And yeah, and I left the hotel. I checked out and yeah, went to write my exam and back home. So for transportation and feeding to get to Victoria Island, I spent like about, let's say, approximately 100k for transportation and feeding to get to the Victoria Island. And yeah, let's just say 100k total of how much I've spent like to get to Victoria Island and check into the hotel. It could be different for you. I don't know. It could be different, it could be lesser, or it could be higher. So it depends on you, and depends on how much you want to spend, or the situation of things. You could have a family in the Victoria Island, or you could choose to come from the mainland down to Victoria Island. But the reason why I don't want to go through that stress, because of traffic. I don't take any chances in missing my exams. When I miss my exam, they're not going to refund me back. So that's on me. After I got my GOTE certificate, which is the BET-FI, I got my BET-FI GOTE certificate in 2024 actually. I was so excited about everything. I was so grateful to God that I got my BET-FI, and that's like a journey finished, like a journey done. Now we're starting another journey, which is the journey of getting a contract. Oh my God. Everything is a process, but let me tell you, you're going to achieve it. Don't let the whole process scare you. I'm telling you, you're going to achieve it. It's a process, but you're gonna get it. So when I was done with the old German thing and everything, I got my B2 certificate, and yeah, the next process is to get a contract. So I started applying, I started doing everything I need to do, which are I had to like get my CV done, my motivational letter done. I really did not spend money for that, right? Because that was like my own personal stuff. It's something I could do myself. So I didn't have to pay anybody to do it for me. So I did that myself, right? Though I actually paid in a website to do my CV, which I paid for like 14 euros to do my CV, and that was it. But there's some free website where you can do your CV for free. So I'm not gonna really put a price to that because it's left for you, okay? But if you want me to do your CV, I can actually do your CV for you, but it costs an amount of money. And if you want me to do your CV, you can do well to DM me or go to my Instagram and can message me right there. For the document, I had to get my transcript because I wanted to use my transcript for my anerkennung, and everything. So I needed to pay for transcript. And as of that time, I think I spent 50k for my transcript. Was it 50k or 100k? I'm not really sure. I cannot remember. But I think I spent 50k. Even my mind is telling me 100k. But maybe I didn't check, but within that price. Well, every other school are different, price. I don't know how much for other school, but my school was a private school. And I don't know, maybe that's the reason why they made it so high like that. After I got my transcript, I had to like do affidavit, a change of name on one of my certificates. I think that was in my WAEC. I had to do a change of name, like not really change of name. I had to add a name to my WAEC because in my WAEC certificate, I had one name that wasn't in my WAEC certificate, right? So I had to like add that name to my WAEC because every other of my documents had the three names, but my WAEC certificate did not have the third name, right? So I had to like add that name to it, because one thing you should also take note are your names, how your names are being written in all your documents. They should be the same way, because it's going to affect you, I think, at the embassy, and in doing your application to get a contract, right? So you need to check that every of your documents has the same name. Okay, so I had to like add that name to my other names on my WAEC, so I had to do an affidavit for that. Okay, I spent like about 4,000 naira, yeah, for that. So it depends on how many documents you are changing, or you're adding names, or you're changing name, or you're removing, or you're adding. It depends on how many documents. So each document will be like 4,000 naira. So I just had like one document that I just had to pay 4,000 naira for. I also had to do my notarization of certificates, right? So, like I've spoken about notarizing certificates before in my previous video. If you've not seen that video, please go back to watch that video on where I spoke about notarizing certificates. So, on the notarizing certificate, I had to notarize like every side of my documents. I had to notarize every side of them, like I said, the front and the back, right, of each document. You have to notarize every single one of them. So I think for notarizing my certificate, I spent like about 20k. Like I said, it depends on how many pages your documents are, right? Front and back, you calculate everything. So mine was 20k. For the anerkennung, yeah, I actually did an anerkennung. You know, I told you I was planning to move to Germany through the Fliege Ausbildung, and I was required to do an anerkennung, which I've spoken about in my previous video. If you haven't watched that video, please do well to watch it. So I said that you need to do your anerkennung, which is what, recognition, and I had to send my documents down. I did my anerkennung in Bayern, yeah. So I had to send my documents down to Germany from Nigeria, because they needed me to send my documents down. I sent my original, my photocopy to Germany. I was totally scared. I was, hey God, make my documents no loss, so let my documents not get or go missing, right? So I had to send them down, and I spent like about 103,000 naira to send my document down to Germany. Yeah, they're actually going to send it back, right? So to send my document down and to bring it back, so I spent 103,000 naira to send my documents down to Germany and to bring it back. I was scared, but I did it. Let's get into photocopying and printing. For photocopying and printing, I think I spent like about 50,000. I even feel like I spent like more than 50,000, because I remember I was going to the cyber cafe a lot. Cyber cafe at that time was like, we were friends. Like I was always going to cyber cafe, print, like photocopy for the, oh my God, that was a whole lot of work, of papers. So I, let's just say I just gave like a sum, because we had to like calculate some of this photocopy, like maybe 100 naira, 200, all those stuff. So let's just say 50k. But I know I feel like I spent more. Okay, so but let's just keep it as 50k. Okay, I need to get my yellow card. Yeah, for the yellow card, I think I spent like 10,000 naira for yellow card. Yeah, I did HBV test, and I don't know how much I spent for the HBV test. I took measles vaccine, I took yellow fever vaccine, I took meningitis. Total amount of all the vaccines I took was like 20k. Then plus the yellow card, which is what, 10k. So let's say everything 30k. So then the next one is passport photograph. I had to do some passport photograph, especially for my interview at the embassy. So I had to do some passport photograph for like one of the requirements that they asked. Even for writing of my GOTE exam, I did passport photograph. So let's just say in total, passport photograph, I spent, let's just say 5k in total. I got a contract after a whole lot of applications and everything. My goal was to get an Ausbildung, a Fliege Ausbildung, but I couldn't get it at the end of the day. So I chose to like go through the FSJ route, and I got that, but it wasn't easy. I eventually got the FSJ, and I was so happy, and that was what I used to migrate to Germany. If you want to make it easy for yourself, you can get an agency to do that for you. When I was preparing to go to the embassy to do my interview, I was required to get a prepaid envelope a Korea prepaid envelope from Korea service. It's one of the requirements of the documents that they need while you are coming to the embassy for your interview. So I use FedEx. Why I use FedEx was because FedEx is at the embassy. So I was like, okay, let me use FedEx so that if they want to send my international passport back to me, it will just be easier for them. They'll just go to this FedEx that is close to them and they will send it. I spent 18,000 naira to get my prepaid envelope. Okay, when I got all my documents ready to go for the interview, like all my documents intact and everything, I had to like pay about 75 euros, right, at the embassy for my visa. If you convert that in the Nigeria currency, as of June 2025, as of that time in June 2025, 75 euros was 121,000, but I gave them in naira. So I did a transfer to them and I paid 121,000 naira. If I just think back on the whole process, the whole journey, it just gives me so much joy. It wasn't easy, but then, you know, when you start something and you see that you could achieve it, there's this joy. Like, it didn't just start and it didn't end well. It started and it still end well at the end of the day, right? So it was so much joy for me when I got my visa. After I got my visa, I actually need to pay for flight tickets, right? So yeah, I had to start planning to pay for my flight ticket to Germany. I used the Turkish airline to Bremen, yeah, from Nigeria to Bremen. For my flight ticket to Germany, I spent 655 euros. And if you calculate that as of June 2025, 655 euros was about 1,172,450 naira. So that was how much I spent, but I paid in euros and not in naira. I also had to pay for my flight from Enugu. At that time I was residing in Enugu, so I had to pay for my flight ticket from Enugu to Abuja, which at that time it was 120,000 naira that I spent for my flight from Enugu to Abuja. I also had to pay for my hotel fee where I was going to stay. So I spent just a night, so it's like an overnight stay in the hotel because I was going to check out the next day. So for my hotel fee, for the night was about 39,780 naira. And I also had to like get a cab. You know, the hotel service provided like a pick up and drop off car. They were going to pick me up from the airport and take me back again to the airport because I was going to travel the next day. So, and the amount of the pickup and drop off car was 16,000 naira. So also for food, because I had to eat at the hotel, right, for the day and the night, I spent like about 20k, let's just say 20k. And yeah, so not just did I, you know, spend all this money, I also had to like keep an amount of money for myself in Germany because, you know, I need to take care of myself for the meantime, you know, while I'm working and till I get paid, you know, my monthly salary. So I had to like gather an amount of money that I'm going to use for the month till I'm paid my first salary. So in total of everything, of the amount of money I gathered for myself through the help of family and friends, I gathered about 400 euros, right, to, you know, manage for the month, you know, till I'm paid my first salary. That was all I spent through my journey moving to Germany. Okay, I might have skipped some things. I cannot say, you know, exactly which I skipped, but for all the important things I could remember vividly, that was, you know, what I did and how much I spent. So now to sum everything up, to like everything have said so far from the beginning to the end of each amount, of every amount I said for each of them, to sum everything up in total, I spent 2,780,230 naira. So that was everything I spent in total. So like I said, this is just like a summary, like just give it an amount, to tag an amount to it, right? So it could be less, it could be more, right? But then for you, the current economy of the country, I don't know how much that's going to be as of now. So everything I said is as of 2023 to 2024. As of now, I cannot say how much you're going to spend or how much you will spend, but just know that this is how much I spent, okay? So for you, it could be less, or for you, it could be more. So I can't just say. So I just want to give you guys a clue to your question, to how much I spent or how much it may cost. Okay, like I said earlier, don't look at the big picture, right? Don't look at the big picture right now. Look at the moment, okay? Don't, I'm just telling you so you know, not for you to worry, oh, that's a lot of money, how will I get money? No. Like I said, you spend money from January to December. If you calculate everything you spent, if you calculate everything you spend for the month, you yourself will be surprised, like, oh my god, that's a lot of money. So it's the process that matters. Those little things that you do will bring up the big thing. Okay. So guys, I hope I've been able to answer your questions. To those who have been asking me how much did I spend, about the breakdown and everything to moving to Germany. And if you know you found this video really, helpful, and you understand now how much I spent, please subscribe, like, comment, and share to those that need to know about this information. Thank you for staying to this point. I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.